All right, welcome to episode 5 of What's in the Box, where we meet weekly. I'm joined by my co-host here, Mark Taccolini, who is our founder and CTO at TATSOFT. How are you today, Mark? Looks like he may have had some spotty connection here potentially. All right, there we go. Mark, are you there?
I am.
All right. Sometimes things happen live. So just very quickly, this week we focus on the power as it relates to .NET and HTML5, specifically on the factory floor for operations and operators. And we'll be talking about the power of the clients and graphics within FrameworX. So, Mark, without further ado.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's start explaining that we do have many options on the client side and on the graphics regarding technology. And we need to explain why we have all that many. It's a good criticize. You have one pass. Oh, you have too many options there. But that really
seem to be having some technical difficulties here with our.
Start with the local clients. It's quite very useful in addition to support HTML5 that we do. By the way, if you see this small icon in my computer, it's an embedded web server. So when you deploy a local copy of any TATSOFT FrameworX products, you can have it not only remote HTML5 display, but as well, you can serve local pages on the device on HTML5. But many machine builders, embedded applications, they would like to have some performance on the local HMIs that you can achieve better results with the native graphics.
Okay.
One thing that I learned, I started working as an automation engineer doing startup in the factories. I started as an application engineer. And one thing I learned very quickly is sometimes the process can be really slow. It can take 1 second or 5 seconds, 1 minute for something happens, depending on the process. But if you are in the factory floor, you are doing the operation of a machine, or you are a supervisor or an operator in the control room, you click anything in any display in an HMI, SCADA, or supervisory, and if it takes more than 100, 200 milliseconds stop for them to see some reaction to his action, they will start to look bad to that system.
Yeah.
Even only a feedback, yes, you ask a new display or this button was pressed, yes, you start to type a new set point. So one thing that you must understand, doesn't matter how slow or quick your process. When you work as I did in the factory floor, in the process automation, not only at the manager or IT level, doing the high level dashboards for entire production. I'm talking now the machines, the factory floor. You need to have an amazing and fast graphics, even when you have thousands and thousands and thousands of graphical elements on those displays.
Okay.
And we are able to do that, okay? And in fact, we have many integrators that work with many products. I'll go to Walker here. They claim very clear, when you need high performance on the graphics for the operations, there is only one product that they really go, that's us, okay? And the reason also is because we have that same capabilities on the remote clients. So on the remote clients, I will start explaining what we call a rich client, that nowadays it's almost not used. A rich client is what old products from GE and other companies, they used to need to install on the client computer. So it used to be a piece of software that you run on the remote computer that you need to install, that you do the communication with the server.
Okay.
We do support that technology because there is only some very specific scenarios, mainly on upgrades that we need, competitive upgrades that we need that. But nowadays, we have a Microsoft technology called .NET Smart Clients. You can refer to that also as click-ons. The .NET Smart Client, it's zero install. You can pick up the Windows computer out of the box and just point that computer to the server, and you have application running with no install. So probably lots of people on the blogs and with Twitter will kill me if I say the .NET Smart Clients like an HTML5 that works only in Windows, because that phrase is a completely no sense. But from the practical point of view, that is what is. If your client computers, if your operators, your managers, they are only running in top of the .NET computers, in Windows machines, the .NET clients, it's zero install, has better performance, better security than HTML5. So even to some remote dashboards that you don't need the flexibility to be multi-platform, you have a better solution here instead of here, okay?
Okay.
But I don't want you to see that as in sort of competition. There are lots of scenarios that clearly our HTML5 clients, they are a better option, and you don't need to select one or another one. You can have both out from the same server and sharing the symbol libraries. So when you are creating an application, for the people that's not familiar with our products, what I'm showing now is our drawing tools. We have thousands of symbols of all types in the application. And all those symbols, as well the custom symbols you create, they can be shared between all those displays. So when you are deploying your application, you have to do a design decision. That's not that complex. It's, okay, do I have machine HMIs? Do I have operators that they need a more faster and secure, rich graphics, that you can even do things like I'm showing here, not simulation or 3D model. You can do the real 3D model, putting dynamic data in top of AutoCAD files. Even if you don't need that level of sophistication on the graphics, but you do need a higher level of performance security, then you can serve those displays with the .NET technology, okay?
So Mark, just to be clear on my side, so really the differentiator there with the .NET is security, significant speed, And then the graphics, got it.
And I may add also that you can do things a little more powerful, a little more easy. Nowadays, there is lots of JavaScript code and HTML5 controls for whatever you can manage. But the problem, to manage some things, you need to go after that JavaScript code, or you need to go after that HTML5 control. As well, the .NET client, that's a very already mature technology, it's more likely to have everything out of the box without having to get an external control, okay?
Yeah, okay.
You do have also that benefit. But going back to explain why you need both, for instance, I am a Mac user, so I run Windows inside my virtual machine, but I like to see my dashboards directly in my Safari browser. So here I'm running a display in Safari. You can see here in my Mac. That's for sure one scenario you want to use HTML5 when you are publishing data to Android devices or in other platforms, and sometimes are publishing data with different form factors as well. So there is also a great use to have HTML5 displays, okay? And in our product, that's for a presentation to another day. We explain that we can do displays like those ones that are dashboard-like style displays with nice resizing and auto-responsive operations, as we can do also in HTML5 process diagrams that are really very rich regarding the graphical capabilities. So you can do both on HTML5. If you want to deploy just exactly display here, in this case, I'm running as a native Windows, as a HTML5 page, yes, I can. And not only I can, as the tag name, the tag connections, and the symbols to show those elements here on the screen, they will be shared between the two clients. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So the decision you need to do to a proper design is to ask yourself, who will be consuming the data? What are the requirements of my consumers of the data? And then you can deploy the best technology to achieve the results, what we need in each area of your factory. Because the answer is not the same to everyone. Of course, the person that's open that from any device, even his Mac computer, for sure it would be HTML5. If I'm sitting down in a control room, I want to get every bit of performance secure I want to have, and I'm local in the control room. I'm not taking the control room to my house, so there is no reason why you cannot deploy this smart client technology. It's zero install, very easy to manage, okay?
Okay.
And we also have native OS applications. So if you are running iPhone and iPads, you can, of course, run HTML5 on iPhone and iPads, but we also have the ability to create native apps. And again, there are some scenarios that want to do the distribution through the Apple Store, or some large companies, they have their built-in Apple Store, or you want to do some small details that you can do better natively than HTML. We support that, okay? On the long term, it's more likely those two will be for a long time. We will see those two technologies for a long time. And of course, the local clients, there is also a reason to have a local client in Windows or Linux for the HMI or your Raspberry Pis or your local panels. It's important also to have the ability to that a more light local graphics to your applications, to that field devices, or for your edge devices, okay? And to avoid to, again, but you say, okay, but how you compare? No, let's try to avoid the comparing, because they, I can't do anything in HTML5 that you could do in .NET. Yes and no, depends on the performance you want to have. There's a few, depends on how much time you want to put that, because when you are creating a display that's .NET, you can do the code behind, either in VB.NET or C#, or you can even invoke Python codes if you are creating a display that's designed to be only HTML5. What you need to embed in your page is JavaScript or call to Python. And that is the personal preferences there. And also there is one thing very important. Every time you have a HTML5 page, I'll be a little technical now, that window is running in a single thread. You can do the concept of background workers, but it's not as much as high-level performance and easy to do as the .NET client that's out of the box, zero configuration, and with amazing performance.
Yeah.
So if I want to do a client-side application that's more rich, not only in the thousands of objects on the display, but also in the codes I'm running in the client sides, that's a reason that the .NET is very powerful on that. In fact, this presentation is not supposed to be at code, but if you go to our script tests, you can very easily allocate which code you want to run on the server clients, on the clients, and we do automatically parallel processing if the client supports that multitasking. So you do have better performance on that. Any questions so far, Tolga?
Yeah, Mark. So, between .NET and HTML, obviously they have their own use cases. Are there any areas where there's an overlap where they can both equally kind of?
Yeah, that's exactly a question I got recently. I say, okay, I see the reason I am doing these power plants. I don't want to allow the users wait.
Looks like we may have lost Mark here for a moment. Bear with us, please.
We did explain to him, oh no, you don't need to have two projects, because what does happen is even the pages sharing to one client or another one, they are different. So if you have a .NET client doing the communication with this, he'll get what you put available to that .NET client. If you have a HTML5 client, he'll connect on what he put available to the .NET. But the key point, all those symbols, including the date of the mapping, you can use that and save as a symbol, and very easily go to the new page you are creating, whatever it is, iPhone, HTML5 or .NET, and paste those objects. I select then only one. And when you paste those objects, they bring also all the dynamic properties connected with that object.
So it pulls it all through, okay.
Yeah, you don't need to redo. What you need to do if you want to share data between different platforms with maximum performance, you extend our symbol library to do the elements that will be shared between both displays and drop that in both displays. And guess what? What do you think that does happen if I add this symbol? So I go here, I do some modifications in this symbol. So I'm going to add the symbol. So I'm going to add this tank, do some little thing here, and then I'm going to save that back to the library. What do you believe that will happen in all displays you created, no matter .NET, iPhone, or HTML5, pure HTML5?
I'm going to guess it's going to record those changes.
Yeah, and update automatically on the client side.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's great.
So you still can modify the data, you can modify the bindings, you can modify the objects that are shared between those different platforms, whatever local, remote, HTML5, and deploy that right away. Okay. So there is no real duplication of data. So if you understand that concept, it will be very easy for you to decide, okay, I want to have a local client and or remote clients. My remote clients, I'm going to have only one technology, or I have a use case to support both technologies out of the same server. That's pretty much a project decision. And it's not very complex. You just need to ask the right questions, and I give some examples on the questions to ask.
So, Mark, you know, in yesteryear, when you didn't have that capability, I mean, what did you do? What was the workaround, you know, without this kind of update across the clients?
Well, we did a huge investments on the past on HTML5 clients. We did have the remote .NET clients for a long time. Mm-hmm. We had the Linux clients that you could put a remote Linux accessing an external server. We could have that option also in the past, but this option was necessary to install and run the clients on the remote device. So that's why we decide that this one is not necessary. If mm-hmm. I want to have a remote device, if it's Windows, I run this client. If it's a non-Windows or it's Windows, but I want to keep a standard, I run this client. So what we did, especially over the last 2 years, is a big effort to make as transparent to the user as possible. Of course, it performs the security. There are things that are different by the technology, but through the point of view, whatever you are running, .NET, HTML5, iOS, and Linux, most of the support's pretty much the same in all the platforms, only to some specific examples. And this is not a 3D object. This is only a graphics. So mm-hmm. This one will show in any objects. But when you have the real 3D that is getting data from the AutoCAD, that's an example that we run the .NET clients when you have these kinds, okay? But that's a very, frankly, nowadays, unusual example.
Okay.
You do have good comfort, so you can make really the decision on your deployment requirements. Who will be the user? What level of responsiveness to actions my operator needs? How I want to apply security on that? Do I want to have a web server or not? That's sometimes a little too open in the architecture. Those are the questions that you guide you to the application. And the drawing tools, it's exactly the same. When you create the many screens, this application, say, okay, this screen will be to serve this type of client, this will be to serve this type of clients, and all of them, they are sharing the same data, same graphical symbols. And in 1 week from now, Togar will give the details on the end. I'm just teasing now. We will explain what this dashboard does that allows you to create responsive user interfaces that you can resize, and they work very nicely in any kind of device. Okay. And yep. By the way, you can do that in .NET also, but to go to Android and some other devices, it's quite common to use that with HTML5. Okay.
Mark, just very quickly, you mentioned a couple of questions to ask before you kind of design the application. Do you have something that you know that we can share with the community that kind of lists some of those criteria to consider before developing?
Well, if the community helps me pushing us, and someone put a question about that in our forum, so at the end of the presentation, you can also talk about our ecosystem, Togar. I will put some notes on that, but it would be quite general. I don't want to try to say that in 2 paragraphs I can give you the guide to do a specification in projects. It would be a little too presumptuous of my part. But definitely I can put some basic questions that you should ask yourself when you are designing the application.
Okay, so I just put it out to the community here. If you'd like to get a little more detail on some of these questions, please join us at forum.tatsoft.com and drop those there, and we can help you with some of those answers. So.
Yeah, and because this presentation was alleged to talk about graphs client technology, perhaps lots of people would expect that I'll be showing amazing demos. But frankly, sometimes those demos, they are more talents of the person doing the design and how the technology that's behind. So in this presentation, what I really want to do is to explain why we support those flavors, to explain they can get data out from the same server, to explain they can share symbol graphics and live data without having to do preparation and at a performance level, so that it's not really unmatched. And since we are promoting the forum, I know some products that they have very good local custom native apps for graphics that you run locally. Mm-hmm. I know products that they have very nice HTML5 clients. I don't know really another product that is able to share the same tags, the same symbols in both technologies as easy as we do. Mm-hmm. So you have full flexibility when designing your architecture. And if this statement is no longer true, please let me know, because I keep saying that until someone proves me wrong.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff.
That's it. I will hold myself now, Togar. Otherwise, I will start to willing to. You can stop sharing my display. If I keep moving, probably I'll start starting some sort of training. Or how you do this, how you do that. But the goal today is really explain a little bit on the technology. And if you have any questions, some people say, oh, HTML5 will replace everything. Yeah, not there yet. We still have some time before that. Right now, it can't. It's just a technical limitation. Or the people say, oh, what about the .NET Core and the .NET 5? Yeah, the .NET Core and .NET 5 are making huge improvements to allow distributed applications through the web. But something on the graphics is not yet a replacement right now for what we're doing. So we are tracking all those technologies. And sometimes, especially in the blog, sometimes say, oh, this technology will be dead in 10 years. Okay, or 5, I don't know. But we still need to keep putting applications the last few years. So if we look how the technologies are now and what we need within the next 2 years, that's the set you need, okay? And I reserve the right to changing that over time because, of course, all those graphical technologies it's an evolving process, but it's not that quick, especially for industrial automation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, there's a lot of folks that predict what's going to be obsolete. And there's always a use case that, you can get additional time out of that for sure.
Yeah, sometimes you get wrong. I might say we do have a Windows C version that I don't promote anymore because we do that only when it's really necessary to run Windows C. Because I make the statement that Windows C will be dead in a few years, on my previous business. Mm-hmm. And the market proved me wrong. There is still people deploying compacted C right now. In my opinion, they shouldn't, but they still are. So sometimes it's very hard to predict when those cycles will happen. But one thing I can tell you for sure to wrap up, there is a very strong case that you need local clients in those devices, mm-hmm. Windows, and for the remote clients that we support that as well. Let me shut down.
I believe I hear an alarm coming through there.
Yeah, by the way, one of the demos I was running put out an alarm, but I took care of it.
All right. And just a quick comment here. Anthony says, thanks so much. I'm just starting to learn this platform and I enjoyed this presentation very much. So thank you, Anthony, for your comment. We had a little bit of, connectivity issue here. Mark, I don't know if you realized, but we were a little spotty in our connection for a moment.
Yeah, but, that.
Yeah. So, but we, if anybody's got a question, please join us on the forum and leave your comments there. We're always happy to answer any questions you've got if we couldn't cover it live. Just two quick things. One, next Thursday, we're going to be presenting a webcast where we're going to go into detail, and Mark kind of alluded to that, to some of the what's new in the box that we have not necessarily covered, as well as some of the features around 9.1. So make sure you register. Registration link is on our LinkedIn page, as well as we'll be pushing out some emails for folks. So the other question or the other topic, Mark, that I wanted to say very quickly is that we were talking about the time of this show. We do this every week, Thursday at 4 p.m., but we've gotten some feedback saying, hey, can you maybe do it a little earlier for global purposes and for those people who are kind of working throughout the day and maybe can't hop on. So we did push out a survey on LinkedIn where you can kind of let us know if you think 10 a.m. Central, noon, or 4 p.m. works best for you. We want to make sure that we make the best use of this time and that we can interact with our community and answer questions in real time. Anything else on your side, Mark?
That's all for today.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you again for your time, and thanks for everyone for joining in. We will see you guys next Thursday, both at hopefully our webcast and our live show. Until then, have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week. Bye.